This is VOA News. Reporting by remote, I'm Joe Ramsey. Russian missiles shattered weeks of relative calm in Ukraine's capital, AP correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
Emergency workers battled flames and rescued civilians from apartment buildings in Kyiv. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko says one person was killed, 6 injured.
It's maybe symbolic aggression.
The attack came with Western leaders meeting in Europe, preparing to reaffirm their support for Ukraine and condemnation of Russia. President Biden speaking with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz at the start of the G7 meeting.
We have to stay together, because Putin has been counting on from the beginning. And somehow NATO and the G7 would splinter, but we haven't, and we're not going to.
Good message is that we all made it to stay united, which obviously Putin never expected.
I'm Ben Thomas.
South African police are investigating the deaths of at least 21 people at a nightclub in the coastal town of East London Sunday, and authorities say most of the victims were minors as young as 13 years old. It's unclear what led to the deaths of the young people who were reportedly attending a party to celebrate the end of winter school exams. Local newspaper Daily Dispatch reported that bodies were strewn across tables and chairs without any visible signs of injuries. The police minister said the victims' ages ranged between 13 and 17, raising questions to why the underage children were being served alcohol. The owner of the club said he was called to the club late at night with reports that there were too many people enter the facility. Again, South African police investigating the deaths of at least 21 people at a nightclub in the coastal town of East London Sunday. Find more at voanews.com. This is VOA News. Greece is set to further seal its land frontiers with rival neighbor Turkey, tripling the size of a soaring fence built to block illegal migrants from sneaking in. The plan comes as Greece faces a sudden surge in refugees both along its land and sea frontiers as relations with its age-old foe deteriorates. VOA's Anthi Karsavar reports from Athens.
Greece began extending the security fence at its rugged border with Turkey last year, a decade after Athens initially built a 13-kilometer fence in the region to stem the tide of illegal migration. But a sudden surge in refugee flows has authorities concerned now. Migration Minister Notis Mitarakis explains. There is a clear attempt by Turkey, he says, to instrumentalize migrants in creating a crisis with Greece. And the numbers, he says, speak for themselves. While inflows have dropped dramatically from the 1 million mainly Syrians who spilled into the country during the 2015 refugee crisis, an estimated 1,000 migrants make illegal crossings a day. That's about 20% higher than last year. Greece must deal with heightened migratory flows along its sea borders too, mainly in the massive Aegean waterway that divides Greece and Turkey. Although they are NATO members, Greece and Turkey have been competing over air and sea rights in the Aegean for decades. In recent weeks, though, Turkey has threatened to challenge Greece's sovereignty, claiming that more than 100 Aegean islands are its own, not Greece's. Government sources tell VOA Greece will raise what it calls Turkey's provocative stance at a meeting of NATO leaders this week in Spain. Anthi Karasava for VOA News, Athens.
At least 4 people were killed and another 30 seriously injured on Sunday when the grandstand at a bull ring in Colombia collapsed during a popular event at which members of the public face off with small bulls, officials said. A full 3-story section of wooden stands filled with spectators collapsed, throwing dozens of people to the ground, according to images broadcast on social media. Recapping our top story, Russia has shattered weeks of relative calm in Ukraine's capital with a missile attack as Western leaders meeting in Europe prepared to reaffirm their support for Ukraine and condemnation of Russia. Kiev's mayor speculated the attacks were a symbolic attack before a NATO summit starting Tuesday. Find more at voanews.com or follow us on the VOA mobile app. Reporting by remote, I'm Joe Ramsey.